This is how I mill rough lumber to size without professional grade tools. First, I cut my pieces to a rough size. You can do this using a miter saw, circular saw, or even a jigsaw. Then if I have a board that's a little warped, I will attach it to a planer sled. Now I use a piece of melamine board here because I know that it's super flat. Then I just use some shims to keep the planer blades from pressing the board down when running it through, which can actually keep the board from getting flat. I run it through a couple of times on the sled, and then I remove it from the sled and run it through a couple times for the other side until I get the thickness I need. Next, in order to get straight edges, I will place my board on this simple joiner jig that I made. I clamp down the board on my jig so that the edge of the board is just barely hanging over the edge of my jig. Then I run the other edge of the jig along my table saw fence, and this gives me one completely straight edge. I will then use that straight edge to run along my table saw fence to get the exact width that I need. Now all that's left is to cut to its exact length, and I have a fully